Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I'm excited to give you an overview of the Peace Dollar set. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at each coin. We're going to talk about the series in general and just have some fun with it. So hopefully, even if you collect Peace Dollars, you learn something, and all the little things that you can miss when it comes to an entire set. If you collect these guys and anything that you really want to share, go ahead and leave your comments down below. The Peace Dollar was first released in 1922. Now you'll see this says 1921. Fun fact though, they weren't put into circulation until January of 22. All the coins, a little over a million coins, were struck in December of 1921, just for 1 month. And you'll see the difference between the 1921 style and the 1922 style. They had to modify the coins because the way that they were struck with what we would call a high relief, they didn't stack well, right? And so that's always a little bit of a problem. Interestingly enough, they had the same problem with the gold piece back in the 1920s, or pardon me, 1907. So, you know, you repeat something 15 years later. There's actually also a high relief 1922 version, which is extremely scarce. They had started to produce them in January and then stopped the presses and melted them down. Most of them, of course, not all of them. So the 1921 is one of the key dates in the series. It has a different look than all the other coins in the series, and a nice uncirculated coin. Is going to be, a nice MS63 is about $1,000 coin in this market, maybe a little bit less than that, but you get the idea. It's kind of one of the, how do I put this? So it's interesting to look back through history because from our vantage point, I mean, I consider it to be such a cool design, but having lived through the times and then your coins not stacking and just causing frustration, I'm looking at it from a collector's vantage point. So for the people at the time, what did they think? Were they just mad about the new design and how it didn't stack right? Maybe they were. So you move into 1922, and the coins were struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and at San Francisco. The designer for these coins, his initials are right on the front here, right below the neck. That little monogram. And I can never get his name pronounced right. Anthony de Francisci. I think that's how it's pronounced, like Francisco, but it's, not Francisco. A medalist, he designed the coin. Several different designs are out there that were made, but of course the winning design is the one that we see today. Most of these coins in the series is kind of fun because there's only 24 coins to make the series, and a lot of them are affordable, but we'll go over the ins and outs. Your coins that are in the early part of the series, the early 20s from Philadelphia, are mostly pretty affordable. Where a nice Mint State 63 coin you can usually purchase, for 50 or 60 bucks or something like that. Sometimes even less at a show if somebody's looking to move out some inventory. Your Denver and San Francisco coins are always a little bit harder to find in nicer grades. The 22s and 23s, your MS63 style coins on your D's and S's are about $100 coins roughly. So what's interesting to me always is you can actually tell the mint mark based on the strike on these, or if they have a mint mark. These S mints all have this real flat look to them over the ear, and so you can always tell from the obverse which one has the S mint mark. The mint marks are located right behind the eagle's tail feathers on those guys. From 22 to 23, there's not a whole lot happening. You'll see kind of the same thing here as we look at those. I'm going to go ahead and test y'all with what I just said here. So we shuffle the coins around. It's like 3-card Monty. Three cards Monty Burns. Can you tell which mint is which based on the strike? So it's almost like a down, you move from east to west because the Philly mint is almost always the strongest strike. And then the second strongest strike is usually going to be the Denver mint. And then the weakest strike, the one with the most flat over the hairline, is that San Francisco coin. And the San Francisco coins come real scuffy, just generally speaking. But once you get into the in those first couple of years, they had really high mintages. It's fun to look at a series that just fits on, 2 pages in the red book. You can see how those 22 and 23 coins, 15 million, 17 million, 30 million, 8 million, 6 million, 8 million, not even on my list. Can't read. And then you get into the 24s, and now we got a few changes in the series. So you've got your PD and S. Once again, the Phillies, the Denver and San Francisco and Philly 22s and 23s, they kind of mirror each other in price points a little bit. That 23D being the exception, which will cost you, north of a couple $100. Then you get into 24, and 24 is interesting because all of a sudden the Denver Mint just doesn't have any coins until you get back up to 1926. So for a couple years, 24 and 25, you had just the Philly Mint and the San Francisco Mint. And you may have noticed in the mintages back there that this 24 Philly is really common, 11 million coins. That's another coin that's probably a $50 coin retail. But that 24S, the 24S is actually one of the tougher dates where the mintage dropped to 1.7 million after you're seeing millions, tens of millions of coins for each year. The 24S is north of $500 in mint state 63. If you're trying to put a set together and you want an UNC set, this may be a coin that you compromise and go down to 61 or 62 if you can find one that you really like in that grade. And for a lot of these coins, they might have bigger jumps, the ones that are tougher to get, may have bigger jumps in 63 or 4, but sometimes there's a nice little jump around in 61 or 62. So instead of getting a $500 coin, maybe you're getting a $250 coin, right? And so 1925, we had something else going on similar, where you've got just the Philly and the San Francisco, and once again, you can tell which is which. They all start to have a similar look to them so of course the San Francisco is the one on the right. See just that overall flatness, a little bit different luster even on the San Francisco coins. Once again, 10 million coins, 1.6 million coins, and the 25S is notorious for being really expensive and really high grade. You can still buy a nice UNC coin for $300, but a 64 is $500, but a 65 is like 16,000. I mean, just a huge jump on gem mint state coins. And partially because they just come really chattered. Just a lot of little contacts throughout the way these coins were produced. There's that typical flat strike over the ear. This one has a little bit of mottled toning to it. And then this 25 is interesting because actually this has a strike through on it, or a planchet flaw. That's a planchet flaw between the L and the I in Liberty. Not a strike through. That's like a lamination where a piece of metal was pulled up off the coin. No mention of it on the holder, but hey, you can't get them all, right? All right, now 1926 hits, and we're back to 3 coins again for the year, right? Where you've got mintages of a couple million each on the Philly and the Denver. The San Francisco actually jumps up to 7 million mintage, so it's a high mintage coin. And on these guys, you'd kind of expect to see them all pretty affordable, relatively speaking. And what you see is here on the Denver Mint coin and the San Francisco and Philly. The Philly is just a little bit over $100 type coin, and your San Francisco Mint coin is about $150 to $200. That Denver Mint coin actually is over $300 in a nice Mint State 63. By the way, I'm just using some rough ballpark figures for market, and you'll see a difference probably in each one a little bit depending on when you watch this video and whatnot. But on these guys, what's interesting on this is this 26S has really a much different strike than that 25S did. This is one of the strongest struck San Francisco coins. And I don't know if it's because they had gotten in some new dies finally. New year, new you. Maybe they finally did. But once again, those coins become really, really difficult to get. A number of the Denver and San Francisco coins come really, really hard to get in higher grade. But I like the peace dollars because it is kind of an everyman set, and some of these numbers might scare some of you away. But the reality is that over time, you can put together an uncirculated set of peace dollars. And even for coins, if you save up for coins that are going to be $200 and $300 coins, a lot of people can do that. I know not everyone can, but a lot of people can go ahead and step up on those. Now the 27s are interesting because you have mintages of almost all under $1 million. The 27D actually has a mintage of 1.2 million, and the 27 844,000, and the 27S 866,000. So the 27s become really sticky, really tricky to get. Here we go. Looking, this is the Denver mint on there. This is a nice strong D. These are ones that people will oftentimes compromise and go ahead and get a 62 instead of a 63. But you can see just how nice this coin looks for a 62, right? So whoever got this coin originally, if they bought it, I think got a real nice looking coin for, less than retail price. Because this is a coin that in 63 is about a $600 coin. But, if you pull back to a 62, it's probably a couple $100 less than that. And so when I say that you can buy some of these coins in a lower grade and save some money and still put a nice UNC set together, this is just kind of proof that you can do that. Because if you look at these two coins, who would be satisfied with either of them? I mean, I would be satisfied with both of these. I think they're both really attractive coins. They have a nice full luster. It's not like with a Morgan dollar where you see some of the lower grade UNCs and you think that coin's just kind of a slider. You don't think it's even uncirculated. Both those coins are really nice. This is a 27S and a mint state 61. That's another coin that's harder. A mint state 63 is on the upper end. That's going to be a $625 coin. So they also decided on this one to pull back just a little bit, and get a coin that's probably a $400 coin instead. All right, now when we get after 27, we get to the 28s, which we go back to just two mints, the Philly and the San Francisco mint. And you've got coins once again. You'll see the Philly mint has the stronger strike. That San Francisco mint goes back to looking the same with that just kind of dead center flatness over it. This one is a really nice look for a 63. Both of these are coins that in 63 are a little bit tougher price point, especially the 28. So the 28S in 63 is at over 500, about a $500 or $600 coin. So the 28, by the way, just to be aware, you got to be careful with these. NGC did this a long time ago, and they still do. You see they have the S there for silver dollar one silver dollar. Instead of just saying $1, they have that. I can't tell you how many guys have gotten that wrong, where they thought they were getting an S mint when they're getting a Philly. And that's the type of thing that just one of those little things that should have been changed decades ago. But you can see this is an older holder, and they used to do it that way. But so the 28 is one of the key dates. A low grade coin will be a couple $100. They made about 360,000 of these guys. A nice mint state 63 runs $700 or more, and then they start to jump when you get into different effects. I've seen guys pay real big premiums for these. This one's a 63 plus, but I've seen guys pay big premiums for these if they get a coin that has a real strong strike to it. You can see just a little flatness right there in the hair in the center. If you can get even more, this is actually a pretty good strike overall for one of these coins. So the 28's always going to run your numbers up a little bit. So now we get to the 29, the 30, and the 31, and the 32, and the 33, and let's go ahead and get to the 34. Right. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about now, during the Great Depression, they didn't make these. So once you got into 29 through 33, there are no peace dollars. So you'll see people make fantasy issues with those dates on them. And so the 30s, interesting because all you have is the 34 and the 35, just 2 years left in the entire series. And so 1934, less than 1 million coins struck. Also a coin that's, you know, they're a little bit tougher, but that's a coin that's probably going to be a $300 type coin in MS63. Nice coin, you'll see that nice strike. So once we get into those last couple 30s, you can see once again, you still have those S mints, still have that overall same look to them, with a little bit flatness. And this is the Denver mint, a little bit flatter strike. You know, the Denver mints to me always have like their own little bit different type of luster to it. It's kind of hard to describe until you look at a lot of them. But the 34D, 1.5 million, 34S, 1 million. And the 34D, they actually have a double die obverse variety. There are, you know, there are different varieties on these coins that you can find, like cherry picker type stuff, like VAMs. You know, this video is not about that. The only one that's listed in the red book is that 34D double die obverse. You know, and that's a little bit tougher coin. So, but this 34S is kind of like the curve wrecker in the group, right? So, for anyone who's trying to collect an UNC set, this is where you run into problems, because the 34S is a coin that an UNC is like $3,000 to $5,000, right? Maybe $6,000, anywhere from MS60 to 63. So this is like the 84S of peace dollars. So they're affordable. You just find like a low grade one and they're not expensive. But as soon as you start hitting like the upper end, you know, you hit AUs, and AU50 bids at 300 and AU58 at 1400. So this is the toughie. Now this coin's really lustrous. I think it's really nice for a 53. You know, it has signs of wear on it. But this is the one that's going to make the entire set hard to get in UNC, because you'll spend as much, almost as much on this coin as the rest of the set, right? So an entire set of peace dollars in MS63 without the 34S, well, you know, you can put it together for about $7,000. And once again, I know some of you hear that number and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I could never do that. But at $200, $300, $400 at a time, if you take the time to save the money, I know a lot of guys who've been diligent on their peace dollar set, and it's way more doable, I think, than a Morgan dollar set in UNC, right? Not only because of the quantity of coins, but also you basically have 1 or 2 coins that are really will break the bank, so to speak, stuff that you have to save a lot of money for. But it just takes patience otherwise, because, like I said, these are the price points. Most of these coins are not super expensive. You know, here we go, though. We've got the 35 and the 35S. And this 35, a little bit scuffy for me, but the 35S, really lovely. You can see the difference, kind of how that 35S, I think, is a nicer looking coin. Still has that flat, I'll call it flat ear. It's over the hair where the ear would be, roughly. Right, and the 35S is a little bit of a curve wrecker of its own. I mean, this is probably a $500 coin in 63. And a lot of the coins are kind of like that in the later part of the series, where you'll find a lot of circulated coins that aren't that expensive, but the uncirculated coins kind of jump up in price. So a lot of these guys, so this is a couple million minted, 1.9 million. The 35 Philly is 1.5 million minted, and they're very available in lower grades. But UNC grades, they become, you know, increasingly more and more difficult to come by, and the price points jump quite a bit. So a couple notes that you need to know about is, you know, they actually reissued these in 1964 from the Denver Mint. They had coinage act of 45 million, but they only produced like 35,000, or no, 316,000. But supposedly none of them exist. I've talked to a number of old timers who say they do exist, but they're not legal to own. And of course, one more peace dollar, the 2021, that came out, that the U.S. Mint produced, and they're not bad looking coins. I actually kind of like them. One of the nicer looking coins I think that the U.S. Mint has produced. When they've produced things, that, you know, there's some talk about whether or not this is a commemorative issue or circulating coin, because it is a $1. You know, you can argue amongst yourselves about which one it is. But overall, you know, I guess if you're doing a peace dollar series, now you got to spend whatever, a couple $100 on one of those. But at least you can buy it in MS70, right? Unlike these guys. But it's a fun series, guys. And like I said, over the course of time, 24 coins, seven grand ish. When you get that 34S in there, then you got to work your way through that. So maybe you end up putting up to 10 grand total. But if you've got $1,000 a year to spend, over a decade, you can do it. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing in our world where everyone wants stuff immediately, but there's a lot of satisfaction in trying to accumulate these coins all the way from 1921 to 2021. All right, guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know your other thoughts on the Peace Dollar series. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.